And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
The entire Bible is about black people. Not only was Jesus black, but every character in the Bible seems to be black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay? And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's black. The Jewish people are black people, like Kanye was right.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
This gentleman right here. Huh? What happened? No, this gentleman right here with the camera in his hand. Wave your hand. Pastor
James Wesley Carr.
Yeah, James Wesley Carr. No. What's your name?
Oh, Kelly Richardson.
Kelly Richardson.
Pastor Kelly Richardson.
He is a great grand nephew?
Yeah.
Nephew of one of our first pastors. Wow. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's his uncle right here in the corner of the actual St. Glass window here to your left.
He got the eyes.
It looked just like him. Got the same eyes anyway. Come on, guys. Come on. That's funny. Look on the outside edge of the pews. Look on the outside edge of the pews where you are. You see the different markings alongside the edge of the pews? They represent the different tribes that made up our congregation back then and spoke over 6 different languages among themselves. These were small tribes enslaved by larger tribes and sold to Europeans as they came along the African coast. One of the major languages they spoke back then was that of Aramaic and also two of Hebrew, which means the writings read from bottom to top. Assalamu alaikum. Which means peace be unto you. It's not a Muslim term. It's actually the same greeting which Christ gave into the disciples when he met them in that region. Most countries in that region read from right to left. Here in America, we read from left to right. That's why the pastors in the St. Glass window up front here are going in Numbers 2 through 7 from the right-hand side over to the left,
This is First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The building built by slaves. The gentleman that laid the first brick laid the last. The balcony hold pews that actually were built by slaves. They have the oldest information in this building. That information is written in cursive Hebrew writing.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said.
I know. We don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
This world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. It'll end immediately. We are the party of common sense. I knew that once they had open borders, all of the countries, I didn't think about all over the world. I thought in South America, it's all over the world. Last week, a lot of people came in from the Congo, a big prison in the Congo in Africa. Welcome to the United States. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo. They came in.
Saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring, and what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power, you have to go by psychological quality, and psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened. And we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior. And that's what we're going to have, yeah.
That's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again,
and we're going to make Israel great again.
We're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Let me adjust this mic here. All right. Hope and pray that all is well with you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a great Shabbat. And I know I got to get better at scheduling these lives in advance. Initially, I wasn't planning on doing a live, but then decided to do a live anyway. But definitely will get better. I'll get back to pre-scheduling this so that way you guys can get the alerts. Hopefully, even though I know that Google has been doing some things to not getting the alerts out, unsubscribing users and things along that nature. But I know this wasn't a scheduled live. You know, I kind of scheduled it probably about 2 hours ago. But again, I will try to make it a point to schedule these lives in advance. So that way it gives you time to be able to, adjust your schedules and so forth. So, but yeah, tonight, as you guys see, the title of this lesson here, Your Identity Breaks Pipes. But I wanted to take it a step further, just to kind of tie it into the pale horse, the prophecies, because I know you guys are seeing a lot of things and that are being echoed right across this country. But it's not just across this country, but actually around the world and other places. And I'm going to prove that here. But we see how programs like DEI, when you hear the rhetoric speaking against it, you guys can clearly hear the attacks on our community. There's a clear attack, a clear agenda that's all about attacking our community. As I taught on this a couple of weeks ago, when you just start thinking about it, when you think about, for example, the welfare queens, the term welfare queens, Ronald Reagan came up with that term as an attack on the women in our community, when actually, in fact, it's more Caucasians that are on welfare. The abusers of the welfare system. It was a big major bust on that, exposure on that back in the 90s and the turn of the millennium, of the name stealers being some of the biggest abusers of it, scamming the welfare system. But these are some of the things that have been put in place to push a certain narrative, to push a certain agenda. And I call it the battle cry, the war cry. They are making a war cry. And what we see happening today is a war cry. And I believe the reason why many of us are not responding the way that we should, we are responding in the way as if we're crying, not making a battle cry that, hey, we understand that this is war, a time of war. Many are crying from a perspective of, like being babes, like crying because of not wanting to be weaned off of the system, being weaned off of this delusion. And because we're so dependent, so integrated with the systems of man, we are looking for men to validate us. We're looking for the creators of these systems to be a form of a messiah to remove us from the system or have mercy on us, so to speak. And this is why you see the behaviors that you see right now. And I'm sure you guys can relate to this. This is not trying to promote whether you should vote or not and things like that, but we should be familiar in understanding what's happening around us in this political arena, in this government, as well as other governments. I could go to the scriptures and show you with scriptures that the Israelites were aware of what was taking place or things to come within their local, the governments that had powers over them. When you look at Daniel and his friends, they worked in the government. They were started out Babylonians and transitioned over to the Syrians. Not Syrians, but the Persians. You see Moses with Egypt. You see Joseph with Egypt, right? So we could go and pull out examples of how Israel during captivity, they did interact with the governmental systems, the powers that be. But the key is they drew the line. They made sure that they would not compromise themselves, to anyone or anything, any system of men that had power over them. But nevertheless, family, I don't want to talk too long, but I want to get right into it. And let me go ahead and stretch the screen out. All right. And as you see here, your identity breaks pipes. And then I added a sub thought here: threat of the pale horse. Threat of the pale horse. Because what I believe, what we see on display is the threat of the pale horse. Everything that is being done is to come at our community in so many different angles. Like, for example, the birthright laws that the president made an attempt to do away with. And I know some of you guys will say, hey, well, what does that matter to us? Well, when we look at our ancestors who were kidnapped, who were raptured, rapture means rape, it means kidnap, abduct, murder. So they were kidnapped, they were raptured, right? And brought into a foreign land, dealing with prophecy, right? And taken to these foreign lands and enslaved, right? Enslaved. We've been enslaved. And so because of that, right, through that process, the birthright laws came into play, because here it is, you had our ancestors who was in this country, and eventually, you guys already know the history, eventually were granted citizenship by way of what? Birthright. Because we were born into here by way of captivity. And so you guys already know the civil rights. I'm not getting into all of that, but the key point that I want to make is, when they say they want to do away with the birthright system, it's not just targeting the immigrants, for us, the Spanish or the Mexican immigrants. It's targeting our community, because that is where it was initially associated with. So if they do away with that, then they're saying, hey, we can just now, in a nutshell, take benefits or whatever away from our community. Again, that's a whole nother discussion, but I just want to give you, just a little breakdown of that and why it matters for us to know what's going on. But I want to say this again, family. As you see on your screen, your identity breaks pipes. And I know you guys done heard the saying, pressure breaks pipes, but I'm here to tell you that your identity breaks pipes. Your identity, the more we continue to wake up to who we are, the more we are making the enemy mad. And what you see on display is the enemy being mad, the enemy being upset at our community, and is doing whatever they can to humiliate our community. They're making their battle cry against our community. And so with that being said, let's go to the first slide here. I want to take you to this first slide here. All right, let me bring it up here. All right, so I can see it. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, and I'll pull the article up here, right? This is article in this title: Trump says some white South Africans are oppressed and could be resettled in the U.S. But it says that they say no thanks. Now, think about the contradictions in the actions of what we see here, right? In one breath, we see the push for DEI, push for immigrations, right? We see all these different things, rounding up those that are not citizens of this country, and rounding them up and putting them on planes, trying to send them out of the country to other places, right? But here we have the president doing contrary. He wants to set up a sanctuary for South African farmers, white South African farmers. And this is the story right here. This is just a piece, from the clip, a little portion here. But it says here, Cape Town, South Africa. Groups representing some of South Africa's white minority responded Saturday to a plan by President Donald Trump to offer them refugee status and resettlement in the United States by saying thanks, but no thanks. In other words, they rejected it. They turned it down. The plan was detailed in an executive order Trump signed Friday that stopped all aid and financial assistance to South Africa as punishment for what the Trump administration said were rights violations by the government against some of its white citizens. So you see how the contradiction is in this that we see here on display. You hear the DEI that's being pushed, as far as the attacks on our community by way of DEI, or whether it was what's that, affirmative action, civil rights, whatever the case may be. We see that many of these orders, executive orders that stem from Project 25, we see how it's a slap in our community's face. So again, this is the full article. I encourage you guys to research on this. I'll read more of it. Let me see here. It says here, the Trump administration accused the South African government of allowing violent attacks on white Afrikaner farmers and introducing a land expropriation law, that enables it to seize ethnic minority Afrikaners' agricultural property without compensation. The South African government has denied there are any concerted attacks on white farmers, and has said that Trump's description of the new land law is full of misinformation and distortion. And there was a YouTube, or should I say a TikTok person who went viral, Caucasian young lady who went viral for pushing this nonsense, saying that she was being threatened as by blacks, attacking the farmers out there. I mean, just pushed a bunch of crazy nonsense, and it was proven to be false. And needless to say, her channel was taken down from TikTok. And family, this is an example that I want to share with you about the spirit of the pale horse. And I believe this is the spirit of the pale horse that we see. Again, I encourage you guys to go look this up, and you see the contradictions in this approach by this administration. So I want to say this, family: Donald Trump, Elon Musk, the Democrats, the Republicans, the so-called Abrahamic religions, they remind us as Israelites of the pale horse. I'm going to say this again. All these different groups, all these different institutions of men, guess what? They remind me of the pale horse. And I'm going to explain that. And then I'm going to tie into how your identity is prophecy. You waking up to your identity is prophecy. How being woke is prophecy. Being awakened is prophecy. And don't allow people to hijack the narrative to make you feel as if you're scared to even say that you are woke, to make you fearful in stating that you are awakened. These are things, and this is that spirit of the pale horse to attack everything that we have going on, right? Everything that we are doing. If you notice, they attack everything, and now woke is been being associated with everything but the original people who coined the term. It's that term woke comes from us, and I'm gonna explain that here shortly. But this is all about an attack on our community. They take everything that was positive among our community and use it as a rallying cry, used it as a battle cry, used it as a war cry against our community. So again, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, the Democrats, the Republicans, the so-called Abrahamic religions, they remind us as Israelites of the pale horse, right? So who are they? Who are they? Now, to learn more about the pale horse, I'm not going to go into full details. I'm just going to touch on it just a little. But you have to go to Revelation chapter 6, starting at verse 7. And also we'll touch on it in Zechariah as well. Not going to go too deep in here. I'm just going to focus on one of the horses. But look at what it says. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale chloros horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. Right? In the ancient Hebrew is Mawaf, right? But in the Greek is Thanatos, right? And think about it, Thanatos. It makes you think about who? Thanos, right? And it goes on to say, and hell, Sha'awal, in other words, Hades, followed him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with swords, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So Thanatos is the Greek word for death. But here's a quote from the comic book, right? You know, from Marvel's comic, the character Thanos, right? Because we see art imitating life, or we could say life imitating art. But look at this here. This is a quote from Thanos. And I know you guys remember this, the end games. It says, "Little one, it's a simple calculus. This universe has finite its resources. Finite if life is left unchecked. Life will cease to exist. It needs correcting." So Thanos' whole mission was to he wanted to get rid of half of the population in the universe just to preserve the resources. He was basically saying that it was getting out of hand. It was not enough resources for everyone. So that was his whole premise. Now I want to show you another article from back like 6-7 years ago that echoes the same thing. But he goes on to say here, "I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only one that the only who the will to act." Let me say that. I'm the only who the will to act, or the one who will. Anyway, excuse the typo here. I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only who the will to act on it. For a time you had the same will as you fought by my side, daughter. All right. But anyway, let's see art imitating life. Let's see the truth about this. Let's see Prince Williams. He echoed the similar words of Thanos in regards to Africa. And you'll see that Donald Trump, you see others that are echoing the same thought. But look at here, right? In my lifetime, we have seen global wildlife populations decline by over half. Africa's rapidly growing human population is predicted to more than doubled by 2050, a staggering increase of 3.5 million people per month. There is no question that this increase puts wildlife and habitat under enormous pressure, the prince said. Urbanization, infrastructure, development, cultivation, all good things in themselves, but they will have a terrible impact unless we begin to plan and take measures now. On human populations alone, overgrazing and poor water supplies could have a catastrophic effect unless we start to think about how to mitigate these challenges. So you see how they're echoing the same sentiments as Thanos, right? So this is what we see Donald Trump and others are echoing. This is that spirit of the pale horse. So let's break this down real quick, right? The Greek definition of pale, right? We see here it says, as we see here, chloros, which is greenish, verdant, dun colored. All right. Again, green, pale, yellowish pale. All right. So we see again the spirit of the pale horse. Let's break this down more. So chloros, the Greek word we see, it means greenish, verdant, dun color, or dung color, right? So anyway, so let's go to the Hebrew. Let's see what this word means in Hebrew, right? We see Yarak, right? And it says here, and I'm reading it from the ancient Hebrew, not the Israeli, but it says here, the yellowish green of young and sickly vegetation. So you guys seen it before. You've seen, let's just say, if you have any type of vegetation like greens, if you let it sit and it began to go bad, you see that it turns yellow, right? You've seen that plants, that you may have planted, or matter of fact, grass, untreated grass can turn yellow, leaves can turn yellow. But you see here again the yellowish green of young and sickly vegetation. So when you see again, that think about that the pale horse, think about sickly. When you think about that pale horse, also think about death, right? So what is the attributes of the pale horse? Right? Are the grizzled and bay horse equal to the pale horse of John's vision? We're going to answer these questions. So the grizzled and bay horse of Zechariah 6 match perfectly with the pale horse. Let's tie it together, right? It is easy to understand that the pale horse, because it means exactly what it says. Let me say that again. It means exactly what it says. And I'm going to read it here. Death sat on him, and behind him followed hell. Right? Did I put it in here? Let me make sure I put it in here, because I believe so, but I want to make sure, because I shrank this presentation down. All right, let me just make sure this is here. All right, yeah. All right, let's break it down though. If need be, I'll pull up the additional verses. But anyway, Hades, right? It says here, Hades, right? It says here, an example, Hades, or the place, in other words, state of the departed soul's grave. We see here, name Hades or Pluto, the god of the lower regions. And that's key, the god of the lower regions. That's the key to understanding this prophecy. So the Hebrew dictionary definition of hell, let's go here real quick. Shawal or Sha'awal, it says here, Hades, or the world of the dead, grave, hell, pit. And we see here underworld, grave. And then we see here designated for the abode of the dead. So remember, pale in Hebrew means sickly vegetation. That's the key that I want to hold on to. The tools given to death were sword, hunger, death, and the beasts of the earth. Just remember that. So where are the horses? All right. Now let's go to Zechariah real quick, chapter 6, verse 6 and 7. And let me see if I could put the other scriptures that I meant to put in here real quick. We'll read this here, but I'm going to launch an application while this is doing here. And that way I can kind of make sure that my thoughts are clear when covering this. Let me see here. Zechariah 3. Actually, Zechariah 6. Verse 6 and 7. All right. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go to verse 6 and 7. It says here, the black horse. All right. And if you, again, family, if you really want to understand the prophecies, you have to go to Zechariah as well. You can't just, and if you can't just have one passage over the other. You got to go to both of them, the Revelation passage and the passage in Zechariah, so that way you get full understanding. But it says here, the black horse, Shakar Yam, horse which are therein go forth into the north country, and the white Laban horses, Sawas Yam, go forth after them, and the grizzled Barad Yam go forth toward the south country. This is important. Let me read it one more time. The black horse, or horses, which are therein go forth into the north, and the white horses go forth after them, and the grizzled go forth toward the south. And the bay went forth and sought to go, that they might walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, get you hence, walk to and fro through the earth. So they walk to and fro through the earth. All right. So when you deal with these four horses, generally these are the thoughts that come with this, especially if some of you guys are really into end time prophecy, and you'll see that many of these horses connects to capitalist countries, right, that are in the northern hemisphere, right? So again, all the capitalist countries are in the northern hemisphere, right? When you think about it, 80% of the world's wealth is found there as well. In fact, in the vernacular of the United Nations, they speak about a north-south conflict. The northern states are the haves. The southern states are the have-nots. And we see this even in many of the communities here. Normally, when you think about South Side, who normally resides in the South Side of the communities? Let me ask that again. Who normally resides in the South Side of most of these communities? It's our people, right? The North Side is who? Normally it's the Caucasian, the North, the West, but when you look at the South, right? South side of most communities, who are in the South? We are, right? So again, when you think about this horse, especially when this pale horse, and when we've just read of the scriptures, it gives clarity of all the capitalist countries. When you really look it up and do the history of it, are in the northern hemisphere. 80% of the world's wealth is found there too. In fact, in the vernacular of the United Nations, they speak about a north-south conflict. The northern nations are the haves, the south nations are the have-nots. Okay. So what nations are in the South? They are primarily, poverty-stricken nations in South America and in Africa. We know that not all of Africa is impoverished, but we know that there's some major areas there that are dealing with poverty. We could say that the same as being the same for South America. Think about many of our people down there have it bad, have it really bad. So they are primarily the poverty-stricken nations in South America and Africa. So capitalism goes into the North countries. Catholicism go forth after it. And actually, I don't even want to limit it to Catholicism, because when you deal with end time prophecy enthusiasts, and I was geeked out on this stuff. When you think about the white horse, oftentimes is connected to the Catholic Church because of the whole layout of the Pope himself, the garment that he wears, the Pope mobile. So it's easy to connect that to the Catholic Church. But then when you really start delving into it, and when you start thinking about it from the lens of what we've been teaching, we can't just limit it to the Catholic Church. We have to deal with that from a perspective of the Abrahamic religions, right? The Abrahamic faiths, because, we could focus on the Pope. His name means Papa, right? Being father, right? And Christ said, call no man father, but he also said, call no man what? Master or teacher, from the perspective of what? Rabbi or Rabbi. And who primarily called their teachers by that name, by that term. So it's not just the Catholic Church. I believe it's dealing with all three of the Abrahamic faiths: Catholic Christians, Judaism, as well as Islam, or if you want to call it four, and separate Christianity from Catholicism. So capitalism goes into the North country. Catholicism, or should I say all these different religious systems, goes forth after it. This is true in all of Northern Europe, including Great Britain, France, and etc. So most prophecy books have said that the white horse, the conqueror, is the Antichrist, right? That's how most end time prophecies enthusiasts, they're going to look at the white horse as being the Antichrist. Well, actually, for me, again, I don't, when you start understanding Antichrist, you guys already know we did a teaching on that. It's actually, when we get into it, we're dealing with the son of perdition, not Antichrist. Antichrist comes from within our communities. You could call them the sellouts, but the son of perdition comes from outside of the community. And you could go back and look at my teachings on that. And so the red horse is war, the black horse is famine, and the pale horse is death. Let me say that again. Most prophecy books have said that the white horse is the conqueror, in other words, the Antichrist. But again, cross that out and put perdition, son of perdition, right? The red horse is war, right? The black horse is famine, and the pale horse is death. And we could easily associate the red horse being associated with politics. Now, from an end time enthusiast, they would, the geeks, we would teach that the red horse deals with communists, right? But it goes further than just beyond communist, right? We could say political systems, because, you could say we're a democratic country, so to speak. When I say we living here in the United States, they'll tell you that the United States is a democratic country, but look at the death that has followed going to different territories. So whether it's communism, whether it's democracy, whatever you want to call it, these different political systems, they are doing the same thing under different labels, right? So again, one more time, most prophecy books have said the white horse, the conqueror, is the Antichrist, right? I refer to as the son of perdition. The red horse, they'll tell you is war, but they'll point it to communism. But I'm going to say it's all the political systems. We're still dealing with systems of men. The black horse is famine, and the pale horse is death. However, if the black horse was famine and the pale horse kills with hunger or famine, they would have to be the same thing, right? But anyway, so through religion and so-called historians, we were programmed to worship the rider of the pale horse. Did you guys know that? We were programmed to worship the rider of the pale horse. I know some of you guys may say, wait a minute, Pastor, what are you talking about? And I'm going to prove it here. Through these religious systems and these so-called historians, we were programmed to worship the rider of the pale horse, right? Starting with this question, you guys probably going to know where I'm going at with this. Why are Martians green? Why are Martians green? Have you guys ever thought about that? This is coming from Live Science, right? An article titled, "It's Not Easy Being Green." In science fiction, used the phrase little green men, dates back to the 1940s with the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction tracing the first usage of to the story Mayaya's Little Green Men. In other words, Weird Tales by Harold Lawler. Okay, but notice we see what? Martians being green, right? So why are they called little green men? Excuse the typo. Throughout movie history, aliens have been referred to as little green men. Let me say that again. Throughout movie history, aliens have been referred to as little green men, right? Going back to this article here, it says little green men also appeared on television with the Great Gazoo character debuting on the cartoon The Flintstones in 1965. The term resurfaced in the scripts of science fiction programs like Star Trek. And in the 1969 episode, Tomorrow is Yesterday. Okay, let me fix this. I didn't know it was all these transitions like this. Let me fix this real quick, family. My apologies. All right, let me fix some of these ahead of time. See if I could catch a few more. All right, bear with me 1 second. All right, because I don't like to have all these transitions in the way that it's flowing. So, all right, let me see if I could get a couple more. My apologies, family, for the transitions, going overboard with the transitions. All right, let me see if I could get a couple more. And that should do it. That should help us right here so we won't get dizzy with all these transitions. All right. All right. So a couple of popular green Martians, right? Again, here's some examples of the little green Martians, right? All right. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah. Okay. It's there. Trying to make sure I see what you guys see. All right. So a couple of popular green Martians. You guys see it here. The android, these different, characters that you see here. This is the Great Gazoo, but notice all of them are green. All right. That's the point that I really want to make. All of them are green. So is this why many would rather worship a Martian Christ and not a Negro Messiah, because the way that we are taught, anyone but the Negro, we are basically being taught through religion that the Messiah, that the Israelites, they are Martians, right? They have the color of Martians, right? And I'm going to give information on that. I'm going to give you clarity on that, right? Here's an article titled "Jesus Probably Had Olive Skin," and I'm going to prove that they would rather worship a Martian Christ than a Negro Messiah. They are teaching us and teaching everyone to worship the rider of the pale horse. Now look at here. It says here, I believe this is coming from CBS News, this article. Jesus probably had olive skin. Jesus is often depicted with ivory skin, but like most Jewish people of his time, he probably had darker skin, a theologian explained in a column for The Atlantic in 2013. So what did so-called Jesus look like, right? Let's see another article here, right? This is coming from Different Spirit. This is a Christian website. It says here, people have a funny idea of what Jesus looked like. Jesus of Nazareth was not white-skinned. Jesus was not European. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus lived in the land of Israel in the Middle East. The Bible tells us that Jesus walked wherever he went, so we can easily imagine that his olive skin would have been darker by the sun. There you have it again. They saying what? Olive skin. They saying Christ had olive skin. So again, they're teaching us to worship, promote the rider of the pale horse. Let me break this down. So here's another article: Jesus, Hebrew, and Jewish. Right? This is Christian Crier. It says here, there are also no reliable extra biblical sources or even secular historical sources that say that Jesus was black. Hebrews likely had olive colored skin. There we have it again, not black or white. Some pictures falsely showed Christ to be. Matthew was written to the Jewish Christians. Right. So let's go ahead and prove that, debunk some of this here. So again, just to echo the quote from this article, Hebrews likely had olive colored skin, not black or white, as some pictures falsely show Christ to be. So the question is, did Christ have olive colored skin? What does it mean to have olive colored skin? Right? What does it mean to have olive colored skin? Well, let's go to the Oxford Dictionary and let's see what it says. It says olive, a small oval fruit with a hard pit and bitter flesh, green when unripened, and brownish black when ripe, used as food and as a source of oil. So we have two olives here. You either have the green olive, which is unripe, and you have the brownish black when ripe. Again, so you have two olives, two forms of olives, or two different olives here. You have the unripe, which is green again, and then you have the brownish black when ripe. Okay, so let's go into additional entries of this word. We see here also olive green. We see a grayish green, color like that of an unripe olive. So when they say Christ was olive, they're saying that he's grayish green. That's a cadaver, right? They're saying he's grayish green. Because when they say that he's olive, they're not referring to the ripe olive. They're referring to what? This grayish green. A grayish green color like that of an unripe olive. And then we see the adjective, grayish green, like an unripe olive. All right. So we know that I thought I had an example up here of a ripe olive with someone with the color that matches a ripe olive, which is like blue black, right? Real dark. So we see here again, family, just with definitions, words have meaning. I didn't have it in here, but you guys get the gist of it here. They would rather for us to worship a unripe, sickly Messiah who's riding on the pale horse. You know what I mean? A sickly horse, right? Than worship a Negro Messiah. So did Christ have green or pale skin? No. Did the biblical Israelites have Green skin. No. Right. So, family, this is why I want to really point some of these things out. I know that this is Black History Month, and I just wanted to do a lesson just to talk to you guys a little bit on that, and also just kind of give you clarity on what does it mean to be woke. And I know that many of you guys probably see this channel. It's called We Woke Now, right? And we're woke now, family. And this is why I did kind of started the lesson out the way that I did, because we see death following behind the Israelites. No matter where we go at, those horses, those are chasing us. That death horse is chasing us. That pale horse, right, is chasing us. That black horse, that red horse, these horses are chasing behind us no matter where we go. And when we see or hear these politicians like this administration expressing the things that it's expressing, it reminds us of these horses, starting with what? The pale horses. They are following us no matter where we go. So what does it mean to be woke? What does it mean to be woke? Do you know, family, that term woke is hijacked? Just like everything from our community has been hijacked, from the music that we've created, from the dances that we've created. All of those things have been hijacked and profaned. Have you thought about it, family? When did you ever hear, prior to the past 3 or 4 years, woke being synonymous to negativity? Now, woke is being connected to the feminist movement. Woke is being connected to anything that is bringing about exposure. They call it the woke. Cancel culture is tied to woke. They do this for everything. The reason why they're doing this psychologically, think about it. Many of our ancestors don't even want, not ancestors, many of our people don't even want to use the term woke now. I'm going to say woke, and I'm going to say that, and I could prove it to anyone that want to challenge it, starting with those that are echoing this in the church. You are supposed to be woke according to the biblical text. If you know that you are a child of the Most High, you are an Israelite, you are supposed to be woke, period. And I'm going to prove it with scripture. And if if you're not blood descendants of Israel, but you still embrace the Father, embrace his Son, embrace the Spirit of Yah, embrace the culture, guess what? You're supposed to be woke too. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm just going to give you a simple definition. What does woke mean? And this is part of that green, that pale horse, right? That pale horse, that spirit of that pale horse is to do what? Destroy, make us sick, wear us out to where we're so sick, we're worn out, we're so disgusted, we don't even want to embrace the things that are ours. You have Hebrew Israelites that's saying that they don't want to call themselves Hebrew Israelites. Some going even further and say they don't even want to use the word Hebrew. And then we'll tell you, well, that's not the ancient word, it's Ibar or Ivri or whatever the words they want to use, whether it's the Ashkenazi, or should I say the Israeli pronunciation, or the ancient Hebrew pronunciation. They are what? Now, because of the pressure, caving into the pressure, don't want to deal with the negativity that we have to face. Now they are walking away from saying that they're Hebrew Israelites. They're scared to even use the word Hebrew. They're scared to even use the word Israel. They're scared to use the word woke. Many of them don't even want to use the word awaken. Now, for me, I can understand, because this awakening by many of them, many within this awakening, have made it into a religion. What many is taken to be the awakening is not biblical, the biblical awakening, or the definition of being awakened. So what does it mean to be woke? Let's break this down real quick. Is being woke a sin? Is it a sin to be woke, family? And I'm going to prove to you that it's not a sin to be woke. Look at here. Woke. It says here, aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice. And this is what it meant for our community. See, You have people that are following politicians. You have people that are following, just going with the flow, operating in this herd mentality, this herd behavior, and they're throwing the word woke around and a negative spin on it and don't have no clue what they're talking about. Woke, according to our community, was being aware of the suppression, being aware of the tactics, being aware of the threats, being aware of the agenda, being aware of the politics, being aware of all what they are trying to do to what? Sabotage who we are. So let me prove with scripture that we are all supposed to be woke. Let me show you this with scripture. We are all, as Israelites, we are supposed to be woke. Anyone that's following the Most High, you are supposed to be woke. If you're spewing out here this woke culture rhetoric, saying, talking badly about being awakened, guess what? You are anti. You are anti if you're doing that and you're part of the from within, you're anti. But if you not part of the bloodline Israelites, you are part of the problem when we start getting into the son of perdition. So is it a sin to be woke? How can we biblically define being woke? Well, let's start with this letter right here. Let's start with this letter. For those that are learning Hebrew, and I encourage you guys, subscribe to the Patreon account. And I'm going to get back on point with that. I've been away from that for a while. So I'm going to put some new lessons up. I'm going to redo the lessons that are there. I'm going to put 10 total lessons up. I'm actually recording them now. So breaking down each one of these letters. But let's start with this Hebrew letter right here called the ayin. Right? In Israeli is pronounced ayin. But this letter is so important because it's in the Israelites aleph bayat that we're supposed to be what? Woke. We're supposed to be what? Aware. We're supposed to be awakened. We're supposed to be watchmen. I'm giving you the definition of this letter. If you say that you are a watchman, that means that you are what? Woke. You are awakened. Anyway, let's break it down. As you see here, eye, sight, watch, awareness. Let me say that again. Eye, sight, watch, awareness. The numerical value is 70. And I'm going to prove to you real quick that you cannot say that you are a leader teaching the law, statutes, and commandments, and you teach against being woke. You can't. You can't. You are against the scriptures. Let's prove it here. Right? The pictograph for this letter is the I, as you see here, but the numerical value is 70. Let me prove to you, you cannot say that you are an elder. You cannot say that you are a leader and you teaching against being woke, teaching against being awakened. Now let's go to Judges chapter 21, verse 25. Let's start with this letter here. You'll see the importance here of this letter ayin, right? You'll see it in Judges chapter 21, verse 25. Look at what it says. In those days, there was no king, Malak in Israel, Yashara'al. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes, ayin, right? So when you don't have the spirit of Yah, and as you see here, Israel leadership was out of place. They was out of whack. And this is where you see the branches of government that we see here today. It pretty much comes from the biblical principles, because in the United States branches of government, you have the legislative, you have the executive, as far as the presidential, and you have the judicial, right? So you have the judicial branch, the office of the president, and you also have the legislative. Those are the three forms of government, right? If one of those forms, one of those areas of government is out of whack, then it can have an impact on all three. That's what we see in today. No different than what we see in the biblical text. You have the judges, you have the priesthood, right? And you had the king, the office of the king. Because there was no king, all you had was what? The judges, the elders, as far as and of course the Levitical priests. But there was no balance. There was no order. They were doing, as you see here, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And that's what we even seeing right now when you're witnessing what's happening with this administration, doing what's right in his own eyes. Okay. So the numerical value of the ion is 70, right? Is 70, right? So let's break this down real quick, right? Before we get into it, breaking it down, I want to give you this African proverb that says, smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. Let me say that again. Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. So family, if you want the Most High to perfect you, if you want to perfect your voice in this and being woke, being awakened, you're going to have to go through some stuff. If you say that you are part of the chosen people of Yah, guess what? You're going to have to go through some stuff. You're going to have to go through the trials and tribulations. You're going to have to go through these things. You're going to have to go through these things. You're going to have to go through some hard times. And we as a people, we know it. We got the t-shirt on it. We go through hard times. Every time you turn around, we in what? Captivity. So smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. So let's prove this with the ion. Let's prove this with leadership, that the leadership has to be woke. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11, starting at verse 24. And Mashah, in other words, Moses, went out and told the people the words of Yahweh and gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people and set them round about the tabernacle. And Yahweh came down in a cloud and spake unto him and took the spirit that was upon him and gave it unto the 70 elders. And when it came to pass that when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied and did not cease. So we see 70, right? Those 70 elders, we see Ayan, numerical value is 70, and we see that it is what? To be aware, right? To be woke. So we see how, as a leader, right, as an elder, you're supposed to be woke. You're supposed to be aware. This is also tying into having what? Discernment, because discernment, Shema, means listen with intelligence. It means to be obedient. This is important, family. So again, is it a sin to be woke according to Scripture? Is it a sin? All right. All right. I see some comments here. I'll say this. Jesus, someone posted here, Jesus never called God Yahweh. Jesus called God Allah. Let me make this clear, family, and I'm going to say this, moderators, you guys know what to do. When you see comments like this, remove them because that's being disrupted. But let me give you clarity. You know, Christ never said Allahai, right? The ancient Hebrew is Allahayam, right? The Aramaic is Allaha, and of course, the Father is not God, right? His name is not God. God is a Germanic construct, right? Actual Allahayim is the Hebrew. In the Arabic is pronounced Allah, and the Aramaic is Allaha, right? So that word God, right, which is a transliteration, right? That's a whole nother discussion, but it comes from the Germanic languages, G-O-T-T, got, right? So when you say Jesus called God Allah, let's put it in this proper perspective. No, he called the Father Allah Yahweh, right? He's not speaking from a perspective of the term God. Of course, he's not going to use the English term God. So he's going to use the ancient Hebrew, not Aramaic, because that's a teaching that's been going around, especially in seminaries, teaching that Christ and the Israelites were speaking Aramaic at their time. No, Aramaic was not their main tongue. It was ancient Hebrew. So he would have said Allah Yam. But again, Aramaic is Allaha, right? So he would have referred to the Father as Abba Allaha Yam, because the masculine plural. But Even if you want to use the Aramaic, it would have been Yahweh Allah. All right. So with that being said, I just want to, just kind of give clarity on that, family. But moderators, you guys know what to do, because I encourage you to go look at the previous lessons that I taught in details about this. All right, because I just don't like to get into this thing of saying what was said or what was not said. All right, all right, all right. See, this is how it normally goes, family. When you give clarity to people, they want to start getting into arguments and all that. So that's why moderators just put the people out. When you see stuff like that, this is what happens. All right. This is what they do. When they don't have an argument and they can't articulate it, then they start wanting to go into an argument. But anyway, so let's get it back here, family. Is it a sin to be woke according to scripture? Let me say that again. Is it a sin to be woke according to scripture? We got to answer this question, family. Is it a sin to be woke according to scripture? All right. And I see a question here about the name I am that I am. You asked the question, are you correct? I'm going to say no, but go watch the lesson, and moderators just post it in the channel. If you want to know what the Most High's name is, I did a lesson on it, and actually ChatGPT confirmed it as well. So just post it inside the comment section. We're not going to get into it tonight. That's not what this lesson is about. So moderators, if you want to post that in the chat, but family, those that have not been following this channel or new to this channel, let's stay focused. Let's stay on point with the actual lesson. I don't want to get into the names, but again, Ahaya is not his name. Ahaya is the declaration. His name is Yahweh, and he makes it clear. Ahaya simply means I exist. His name is Yahweh, which means he exists. So Ahaya is not his name, it's a declaration. His name is Yahweh. But again, I'm going to post that. I'm one of the moderators. If you guys can post that inside the chat, and you can watch the lesson, and I break it down with historical context in scripture. All right. But anyway, let's get back over to here. Right. Is it a sin to be woke according to scripture? Let me ask that again. All right. Is it a sin to be woke according to scripture? Let's answer this question here. Is it a sin to be woke according to scripture? No. Let me say that again, family. It is not a sin. You're not out of order if you woke according to scripture. All right. Is it a sin to know your identity? Guess what? No, it's not a sin to know your identity. Let's prove this. Let's go to Baruch chapter 2, starting at verse 30. We're going to give clarity here. Let's see what it says here. Let's see what this prophecy says. We know that the Christian church don't accept the Apocrypha. They don't accept these books right here, like Baruch. When you understand the history of Baruch, Baruch was the scribe for Jeremiah, right? He was the one that wrote Jeremiah at the instructions of Jeremiah. Jeremiah told him what to write, told him what to put into it, but he wrote it for him. All right. So this is coming from Baruch. Let's see what it says. If you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter you. And I appreciate all the comments here, the responses. Let me read some of it, because I know I didn't give you guys some of the shout outs here. All right, I didn't do shout outs today. I just went straight into the lesson. But let me give shout outs to David Taylor, Doc Kuzi. Let me give you some shout outs here. Yaquaba, thank you for the love and support. Amelia, thank you for the love and support. Into Focus, no sir, answering that question. Elders in the building. Yahweh saying the name is Yahweh. Let's see here. Again, David Taylor, no, it's not a sin, right? To be woke. Elder in the house, Elder Lyons. No, it's not a sin to be woke. Let's see here. Ivan, no. Yaquaba, no. Stephen Patrick, no. Give us some shout outs to you guys. Again, it's not a sin. All right. So this is coming from Baruch chapter 2, verse 29 through 35. Okay. Now let's go ahead and break this down real quick. And I'm going to show you that we are fulfilling scriptures here with knowing who we are. Verse 30, look at what it says. For I knew that they would not hear me. And think about the Hebrew word shamai or shamai, which means listen with intelligence. It means discernment. It means obedient. For I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. Wait a minute. Look at what it says here. It says, in the land of their captivities. In other words, in the land of our oppressors, in the land that we were taken to, kidnapped from, but taken to, we shall remember who we are. We're going to know our identity. We're going to be what? Woke. We are going to be awakened. Right? You see here, family, the scripture is prophesying that we are going to understand our identity as Israelites. We are going to understand that we are the people of the book. You cannot say that you're truly seeking Yah and you say that it doesn't matter who's the Israelites, the true Israelites. See, the church has weaponized Apostle Paul's words to make them say something that it's not what Paul meant. They'll tell you it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter being a bloodline Israelite because we all Israelites by way of believing in Christ. That's not what Paul was teaching. Paul never did away with, said that the Most High did away with the ancient Israelites. He asked the question, have Yah did away with the Israelites? He said, Yah forbid. And he gives his lineage. But again, for I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. So this is the prophecy of what? Us waking up, being woke to what? And to who? Knowing who we are through the Father, knowing that we are bloodline Israelites, not a religion. We are bloodline Israelites. So please do not refer to you being an Israelite as if it's comparable to someone being a Christian or comparable to someone calling themselves Jew or Jewish. No, we are bloodline Israelites. That term Israeli, that term Jew, that term Jewish, that term Christian, those are titles that are attached to religious systems, religion. But we're Israelites, right? So you can be an Israelite practicing false beliefs, being so caught up into false belief system, but you're still to be an Israelite, but you'll be what? A fallen Israelite. For I knew that they would not hear me. The Most High knew it because we have a pattern not listening to him. We have it all through the book of Judges. Again, Israel sinned before Yahweh. And what happened? We went into captivity. And it increased each time. That perpetual captivity that's spoken about, the consequences in Deuteronomy 28, it's a perpetual, those are perpetual laws for what? Perpetual behavior. The Most High said he knew that we would not listen with intelligence. He knew. He said, because we are a stiff-necked people. It says, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. Verse 31, and shall know that I am Yahweh, their Elohim. In other words, stating that he exists, says they shall know that I am Yahweh, Elohim. And guess what? I am is what? Ahaya. So we see here that I am Ahaya Yahweh, right? You can use that for this declaration here. I am Yahweh, their Elohim, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear. The Messiah is saying that he's going to fill us with his spirit. That's when it says, I will give them a heart that's dealing with his Holy Spirit, the Spirit of Yah. Excuse me. I should have brought some water here. All right. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. But the Most High said he's going to give us the heart. He's going to give us the what? Discernment. Because the ears to hear. In other words, listen with intelligence. All right. The chapter is, again, Baruch. Chapter 2, verse 29 through 35 is what we're reading from. All right. Now we add verse 33. And return from their stiff neck, from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before Yahweh. Verse 34. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they shall be, actually it should be Adonaiah, right? Not Elohim. It should be, and they shall be Adonaiah of it. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. Verse 35. And I will make an everlasting covenant. You see how Baruch is echoing Jeremiah. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their Elohim. And they shall be my people. This is also echoing Hosea chapter 2. And they shall be my people. And I will not no more drive my people out of Israel, out of the land that they that I have given them. Excuse me. So again, the book of Baruch was written by Baruch, the scribe of the prophet Jeremiah. The book of Baruch was written in 586 BCE after the Babylonian exile when the Israelites were in captivity. All right. But let's go back to Baruch, though. Let's go back to verse 30 again. It says, for I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. So again, this is telling us that we're going to understand who we are in the land of captivity. Are we not fulfilling this prophecy? How did we learn about who we are, being the people of the book? Where did we learn it at? We were also told that we'll learn this in what? A foreign language. That's what Isaiah prophesied, right? Did we not learn about who we are as Israelites, bloodline Israelites, in a foreign language and enemy's territories, we could say, inside the enemy's camp? We are in the land of captivity, right? We are in the land of our slave owners, the slave oppressors, right? And we had to use their language for all of us to what? Understand who we are. So in the land of the slave owners, Israel will become woke, Awar Yah. That's the ancient pronunciation of it. Awar Yah or Awar Raya, however you want to pronounce it, to our true identity, right? The Hebrew word for captivity is Shabbat or Shabbat, right? Shabbat. And this is what it means, as you see here. I'm at the primitive root word. It says to transport into captivity, carry away, drive away, take away. Okay. So again, the Hebrew word is Iwar Yah. Here, because I have the connector there, would be Iwar Rai. But I got to take that connector off, right? This is old here. So it's Iwar Yah. Anyway, so let's go to the definition of this word, right? It says here to wake, lift up self, be triumph, right? But the key is, look at here, it says idea of opening eyes. Look at this. Wake in, wake up. Wake in, wake up. So come on, family. We're supposed to be woke. We're supposed to be woke. This is confirming what we just talked about. So in the land of the slave owners, Israel will become woke and aware of to the lies we were told in the land of our oppressors of who we truly are. So 5 key points to this prophecy. Number 1, Yahweh declares that Yashara'al, in other words, Israel being a stiff-necked people, would not listen to him initially, but through our captivity, we will remember who we are. Yahweh will give us a heart and ears to hear him, leading us to the return to him. This signifies spiritual awakening. All right. 3, even in Yashara'al's oppressed condition, we will remember the name of Yahweh and turn back to the ways of of their fathers. In other words, of our ancestors, right? Forefathers. Once we return to Yahweh, he promised to restore us to our inheritance. This aligns with other prophecies such as Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 37, which speaks of the renewal of Israel and our return under the eternal covenant. In other words, the solid 10, the foundational 10. I'm not going to say solid because all of the Father's law, statute, commandments are solid, but we're getting back under to what? Under Torah. We're getting back under what? The instructions of the foundational 10 commandments. That is the covenant. That's what this is dealing with here. So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 37 real quick, starting at verse 15. The word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write it upon it for Yahweh, in other words, Judah, and for the children of Yashara'al, Israel. His companions then take another stick, right, and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Yashara'al, his companions. Verse 17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of Israel shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou shew us what thou meanest by these? Now, this is dealing with the 2 sticks, also connecting to the 2 witnesses. Notice what it says here. Saying to them, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribe of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine, in mine hand. So Yahweh gave Ezekiel a sign of 2 sticks being joined together. This sign points to the whole house of Israel being united into one nation. This is not dealing with the church. This is not dealing with a religion. This is dealing with the Israelites, the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom. It's making it clear Yahweh gave Ezekiel a sign of 2 sticks being joined together. This sign points to the whole house of Israel being united into one nation. Yahweh told Ezekiel to visually reinforce his message about the reunification of Israel. Holding out the sticks so that the people could see them, Ezekiel gave the people more encouraging promises from Yahweh. And when we go to verse 12 and 13 in this same passage, look at what it says. Therefore prophesy. He's telling Ezekiel, prophesy and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened Pathach your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. Right? Waking us up, because being woke is not just waking up and laying in bed. Being awoke is getting up out of bed and what? Taking action. Hebrew definition of open, as I pointed out, pathak, look at what it says: to open wide, to loosen, break forth, let go free, open, be set open, opening. So Yahweh instructed the prophet Ezekiel to give the unrecognizable Israelites a firm promise of resurrection from the grave of being scattered. Okay, so Yahweh made promises to Israel that he would always preserve the remnant. And I want to close out with this here. Let's go to Joel chapter 3, verse 3 through 7. This is why I'm going to say it's imperative for us to understand what being woke is. And they have cast lots for my people, and I have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver taken my gold, right? Let me read it again. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their borders. So this is dealing with what? Being in captivity. No other community can say they have gone through this. Not even the name stealers. Notice when they talk about being in captivity, you don't hear them talking about this because they cannot prove it. They'll say Egypt. And then, of course, they'll talk about the Holocaust. They won't talk about the stuff in between here because it is proven that they didn't go through this. Anyway, verse 7, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. Right. So here's a key prophecy, right? These prophecies dealing with the Grecians, right? Dealing with Israel being sold into slavery. That's what Joel is talking about. But when we grew up in the church, they want to focus on chapter 2 when they talk about Yah pouring out his spirit. But guess what? It starts with Israel. But they don't want to get into the part that I'm dealing with, because how the importance of him pouring out his spirit to all within the Israelites, within the community, is so when we're scattered, the Most High can use any one of us to be able to do what? Encourage us through the word, prophesy to our brothers and sisters. That's the whole purpose. When you understand, when I read Numbers earlier, Numbers chapter 11, and you understand prior to the day of Pentecost, right? When we get into Acts chapter 2, it was the leaders that was being anointed with the Holy Spirit. It was the king, right? If you look at the scripture, it was the kings, it was the Levitical priests, it was the elders, it was the judges that was filled with the Spirit of Yah, right? But here we see that there was a shift, a change, a prophecy, because Numbers give you the precursor to what was to come. Because Moses said to Joshua that he would have, the Most High would have all of the Israelites having the gift of prophecy. In other words, speaking the word, not coming up with predictions. Being a prophet doesn't mean predictions, trying to predict the future. It's speaking the word of Yah through his spirit with clarity, right? So that is the precursor. That's why it's important for all of us to be filled with the Holy Spirit. So that's when we get to the prophecy that's in Joel chapter 2 of the Most High pouring out his spirit to all, not just the leadership having a monopoly on it, right? So that way, when we're scattered, no matter where we are, guess what? The Most High can use each and every one of us to speak to our people. See, it's interesting that the southern kingdom consisted of the tribe of Judah, the Levites, and also the Benjamites. So right now, none of us can really say with 100% assurity that we are I'm Judah, or I'm the Levites, or I'm Benjamites. Why? Because when you think about it, we can't say that we in the United States, we can't say that for sure, but we do know that we're connected to Israel. We know that we're connected to that southern kingdom, right? But the key is, why I say that this is so great is because many will say, hey, the Levites don't exist anymore. Well, the Levites was under Judah, right? So you never know, right? I know I have a gift of teaching, right? But we have teachers all through Israel. I believe the Most High allowed that to happen so no one can sit here trying to make a distinction. The Most High made it clear that he can use any one of us. So that's why he poured out his spirit on all, because the Levitical priests were scattered all through the kingdom of Israel. But anyway, let's deal with these Grecians real quick. Numbers chapter 24, starting at 23 and 24, starting at verse 23. Let's deal with these Grecians, bring clarity to these Grecians. Look at here. Look at this key prophecy. Numbers 24, starting at verse 23. And he took up his parable and said, Alas, who shall live when Elohim doeth this? Let me read it again. And he took up his parable and said, Alas, who shall live when Elohim doeth this? And ships shall come from the coast of Chittim. Let me say that again. And ships shall come from the coast of Chittim, and shall afflict Ashur, and shall afflict Eber, in other words, Ibar, and he also shall perish forever. Now, the key here, you see here, and ships shall come from the coast of Chittim. That's important. Underline that in your text. So let me explain this real quick. Kittim refers to the descendants of Javan and later became associated with Rome. In Daniel chapter 11, verse 30, ships of Kittim are linked to Western forces of the Romans or Europeans, right? These prophecies represent European colonial powers, even those involved in the transatlantic slave trade. See, who owned those slave ships? Come on, family. Who owned those slave ships? Who owned them? This is another proof that they're connected to who? Kittim. They're connected to who? Dodim, right? They're connected to who? Javan. They're connected to who? If we want to go all the way up to the top, they're connected to Japheth. We see Gomer there. These are all connected to the name stealers as well. Who owned the slave ships? Eber represents the Hebrew descendants of Eber, meaning the prophecy affects all of Israel. The ships from Kittim bringing affliction on Hebrews foreshadow foreign powers invading and enslaving Israelites. So who is Kittim again? Let me give you some clarity here. Genesis chapter 10, starting at verse 3, and we'll carry to verse 4. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah, the sons of Javan, right? Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim. We see it again, Kittim and Dodanim, right? But the key is Kittim and Javan, all part of what? The sons of Gomer, right? I encourage you guys to go back and watch the lesson I did on the son of perdition. So let's deal with Kittim real quick. Kittim. It says here, denoting Cyprus, an islander, or it says an islander in general, an example, the Greeks or Romans. So we see that Kittim is who? The Greeks, the Romans, right? So let's go to the Eastern Bible Dictionary. Let's see what it says. It says Chittim or Kittim, a plural form, and it gives the same reference to the scriptures I read from, the name of a branch of descendants of Javan. So it's saying that Kittim is related to Javan. Javan is who? The Greeks. Chittim, we're dealing with the Romans. The son of Japheth, Balaam foretold in Numbers 24:24 that ships shall come from the coast of Chittim and affect Eber. And it goes on to say, whose ancient capital was called Kidion by the Greeks. The references elsewhere were made to Chittim, and we see Isaiah, we see Jeremiah, as well as Ezekiel as well. So the nations were guilty of capturing and selling Judah. That's what these nations are. The sons of Japheth was guilty of enslaving our people. Joel closes, and this is a powerful set of passages here. Joel closes this great book on the day of Yahweh. He does not discuss Yahweh's terrifying judgment to come on the evil nations and their citizens, but offers great hope to the true Israelites. Now listen to this hope here. Joel chapter 3, starting at verse 9, look at what it says. Proclaim ye this among the nations. In other words, the Gentiles. Yours would say Gentiles, but it simply means the nations. Prepare war. Wake up. Wait a minute. Is this a declaration of being woke right here? Proclaim ye this among the nations, among the Gentiles. And then it says, prepare war. Wake up. Awar Yah, the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Come on, family. I'm not fearing no one. I'm not fearing nobody. I'm not fearing the things that we are seeing today, because the Most High is calling it out, says, hey, wake up. Get up out of your sleep. Be awakened. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, right? Let them come. The Most High said, let them come, right? It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves. Look at this, family. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye nations. In other words, I don't even like to use the words heathen, because you guys know what it means, but simply all ye nations, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty one, or mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. The Most High is calling it out, say, come on, who won't come test? Right? Verse 12, let the nations, in other words, the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Wait a minute. So guess what? Our enemies, they woke, but they don't want to tell you that they woke. Let me say that again. The enemies, they woke. They are aware what's going on, but they trying to keep us asleep. See here, Joel, this prophecy says, let the nations be woke, be wakened, be aware. They know what's going on. They know we're the people of the book. They know that there's something special about you, Judah, but they want to pretend. They want to keep us from waking up. They want to make sure that we stay asleep. Let the nations be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Look at that valley. What happened in the valley of Jehoshaphat? We did a lesson on this. In the valley of Jehoshaphat, the Most High defeated Israel's enemies. Israel went on a fast, but the Most High defeated the enemies of Israel. Come on, family. For there will I sit to judge all the nations round about. So Yahweh commanded the men of Israel to be awakened, right? He commanded the men of Israel to be awakened, but he also commanded the enemies of Israel to be woke as well. So that way, hey, he says, come on to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and y'all know what happened there. All right. But here's the key right here. Let's deal with Joel, right? Let's go back to Joel. I want to go to a key prophecy here. It says, they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre, Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? You will render me recompense. And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because ye have taken my silver and gold, my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things, and the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold into the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. We're gonna wake up, baby. We're waking up. Come on, man. We're gonna wake up. We're waking up right now. We're coming to understanding who we are, but this is the key prophecy that I want to close out with. Joel chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. We want to read these two verses. This is what I want to use to encourage you, brothers and sisters. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from their generation to generation. Right? This is when we see Judah, we know this is referring to the southern kingdom, the three tribes that was connected. This Judah, the tribe, the Levites, and the Benjamites. But then when we see Jerusalem, that's referring to the remnant, because of all 12 tribes, they stayed in Jerusalem, and the royal seed, right? Generation to generation, still tying it to forever. You'll still see the same word in Hebrew, awalam. So verse 20, this is the key. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahweh dwelleth in Zion. Zion represents the heart, right? For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed. Family, don't get caught up in how this technology constantly changing, right? Don't get caught up if you find out you have Caucasian in your family or other nations in your family. None of us are 100%. Even this, the Maury Povich, who made so much money off of DNA testing, right? Those that were found out to be proven by DNA to be the father, the test never came back 100%. It's always at the most 99 point whatever percent, but it's never 100%. Why? Because the technology is not 100%. I've been teaching this for years on top of years. Don't get caught up if you the DNA constantly changing on you. You don't understand what the DNA says. I'm not a strong advocate of the DNA, because I've said it from the beginning. DNA changes, the technology changes. Only reason why I did my DNA, me and my cousin, is because we kept getting asked to show a DNA, prove it to your DNA. Then when we proved it with the DNA, right, we actually got multiple confirmation from different DNA sources. Then we were told you can't trust the DNA. So DNA, the technology changes, family, and don't get caught up in it. Don't be discouraged if you hear or you know that there's different people, different nations, people groups within your bloodline, because the Most High said, for I will cleanse their blood, a blood transfusion. He understands that when you have a nation like ours that have been raped, right? We've been raped by every nation. So of course, that's why he said he's going to what? Cleanse our blood, because when you're being sold into captivity, that means the oppressors are going to what? Fully exploit every aspect of our being. That's what they did. To do what? Blot us out. That was their attempt to wipe us up, wipe us away. But the Most High said he made sure that he will cleanse our blood in honor of Abraham. Because if he allowed us to be completely wiped away, completely blotted out, then he will be breaking his promise to Abraham. So family, don't you get discouraged, because the whole DNA technology, how it's being used with the haplogroups, that started in 1980. Then when you go back to 1947, 1948, when they started reintroducing DNA, from a perspective of a technology perspective, they was trying to prove aptitude, right? Not even going to get into the details, but we know the DNA technology started in like the 19th century, the 18th, 19th century, but the way that it's being used is still modern. So what they want to do is create whatever they want to do with these technologies and then backdate it and say, hey, this is what they were back then. Family, the truth of the matter is the first peoples, the ancient bones, the ancient Israelites, that was bones that was discovered in the cave of Nineveh, discovered in those caves. Guess what? They were Negroes. So if you want to talk about the mitochondria DNA, that right there, you can shut down the name stealers, because they teach that their women, to be a Jew, you have to be born to a Jewish mother, right? But guess what? A European person, a European woman, their mitochondrial DNA is going to be the exact same. But the difference from that Negro bones that they found up in the catacombs and the caves of ancient Israel, guess what? Those Negro bones, this is where you get the Eve gene, right? This is where you get the Eve gene. And most women, many of the women within our community, they have the Eve gene. They have it. So that means it's different from the Europeans. This is where you can track. Now you get into the autosomal DNA, but this is where you can really track who's who. They don't have it in that community. You can use mitochondrial DNA itself, the Eve gene, to completely debunk it. The women in our community is going to be different from theirs. It's going to show that they come from us, not us coming from them. Right? So let me play this clip real quick. I know I did some, I talked a little bit on it, the DNA, but let me share this clip with you to prove, to bring home this point. All right, I'm going to play this genetic Eve. I want you to hear what this professor did in the discovery, and I'm going to play a couple of videos in succession so you can hear with your own ears.
And this is how we can trace our way back to our genetic Eve and her daughters. So written within it is the history of the world's women, and therefore the human race. Professor Rebecca Kahn was the pioneering scientist who uncovered the first all-important clue.
I started working on human mitochondrial DNA so that I would have some kind of view that was objective, that would help me understand and help other people understand how humans around the world were related.
With this new science, she could. Harmless mutation happens all the time in some part of the mitochondrial DNA, leaving minute markers at every change. These markers are like barcodes and can be read in the same way. Kahn and her team discovered the changes happen at a fairly constant rate. They found the groups with the earliest markers were the Africans living inside Africa, and wondered if they might be the oldest people in the world.
I was very excited when I first started to get evidence, and it was so counterintuitive. I'd put 20 Europeans and 20 African Americans on a sheet of X-ray film, and every African American showed differences, and all the Europeans looked the same. And I thought I'd mislabeled something, or I thought I'd made some drastic mistake. And we kept repeating and repeating things. As we got more samples from different areas, I realized that it was a difference in the pattern, and that this whole new type of evidence based on mitochondria was going to change the way we thought about modern humans.
In 1987, Kahn and her colleagues published a paper showing for the first time that the markers stretched back to Africa, showing quite clearly that this was the birthplace of the human race. New Guinean tribesman, Parisian bartender, American teacher, Polynesian farmer, all were improbable relatives linked through one black woman 150,000 years ago. Their findings caused a sensation.
The responses of people were sort of amazing. The public was genuinely interested in certain aspects of it, but there was a tendency to misinterpret the data because of the terminology used to describe this woman, African Eve. And people thought it meant the biblical Eve, the single woman in the Judeo-Christian Bible of the wife of Adam. I have to say, even my own uncle sent me a Christmas card the year that our study was published saying, "How dare you, you know Grandma wasn't black."
Her work is rewriting human history. Through it, we now know the first mutations took place in Africa. Their bones were discovered in Kafse caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafse and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor through Sinai and into the Middle East.
So family, there you have it. There you have it. There you have it. As Professor Rebecca, she pointed out that the European women mitochondrial DNA was the same, but the Negro women that she tested, it was 20 from the United States, and our women was different. The Europeans, theirs were the same, but ours were different. You saw the mutations, you saw the, so that's how they were able to see who's the original. That in itself can completely knock down the DNA argument if you really understand it. So this is why, I'm not a big, champion or advocate for the DNA, because it constantly changes, right? But I want to say this to you, family. There's something special about you guys. But what the enemy has done is has tricked us to believing that there's something wrong with our hair texture, something wrong with the color of our skin. There's something wrong with us. So we have to do things to supposedly fix what the Most High has given us naturally. You guys are looking for a sign, and the Most High is giving you the signs. He's making it clear that we are the people of the book. We are the true ancient Israelites, that the Messiah looked like us, right? This woolly hair, the chocolate skin, the lips. That's why many of our brothers and sisters, when they try to make attempts at doing these surgeries, getting these different implants, the reason why many of them look deformed because of that is because these are the things that we have naturally. And many of our brothers and sisters don't even realize what you're doing when you call yourself getting these fake things, trying to change the texture of your hair, the texture of your lips, all this stuff. You are telling the Most High that you're ashamed of being the original. We don't have the recessive gene. We are the original. Europeans, and this is no disrespect to the Europeans, this is scientific facts, that they have the recessive genes. This dark melanated skin here doesn't have the recessive genes. We are the originals. But you have many brothers and sisters that are bleaching their skin because they are ashamed of having the original skin, are bleaching or putting chemicals in their hair to try to straighten their hair out, make it look like the Europeans, not realizing that, guess what? Your hair is the way that it is because you are the original. There's no deformity in this hair. There's no deformity. There's no recessed genes inside your body. You are the original. So the wars that we see here is all part of those horsemen, right? It's part of the horsemen to what? Destroy the original, to make us forfeit what the Most High has blessed us with naturally. Every day you look in the mirror, guess what, family? You see a miracle. Every day you look in the mirror, you see a sign. Many of you guys are asking the Most High for signs, and you're looking in the mirror every day and you're rejecting the sign. Your identity is the sign. Your identity is what's bursting in these pipes, the pressure burst pipes. It's knowing who we are. That is what really stirring up this agenda that we see, the attacks that's on us. The enemy is what increasing its rhetoric. And guess what? We got to let out our battle cry. We have to let out our war cry. That's what it means to blow the shofars, right? Because you're letting out your war cry. You're making a sound, lifting up a sound of worship, a rally cry that is supposed to what? Split the ears of the enemy. See, family, there's something special about you. There's something special about me. This is why they know this, family. This is why they're still trying to figure out, man, how is it possible that here it is? I'm pointing to myself. My DNA is 94.5, saying that I'm 94.5 African. Come on, family. 94.5. And here it is. We're inside this country that have raped us, that from every nation has raped us, and I'm still having 94.5%. You know, that's the Most High. I believe it's because he is restoring, he's purging out our DNA, that as the generations to come, if we don't mix and mingle, guess what? It's going to clear itself out. It's going to correct itself. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. There's something special about you. This is why they have a special entry of the word gospel. Look it up. They have a special entry of the word gospel because they know that can't no one sing like you. Can't no one sing like us. Can no one worship like us? They know that Yah did not reveal his truth to no one else but Israel. They know. But the key is they have to manipulate the air. Hasatan is the prince of the air. That means he is the prince of manipulation. So they have to manipulate the air. They have to manipulate the media, because the media is part of the air. So they have to manipulate the media so that way you can hear these things and you get discouraged by it. You think or sound like the enemy has power. And guess what? The enemy has some power, but Yah has all power. Hasatan has some power, but Yah has all power. Donald Trump has some power, but Yah has all power. Elon Musk supposedly be the richest man in the world. Guess what? He has some power, but he doesn't have all power. The United States have some power, but the United States doesn't have all power. Russia, some power. China, some power. Japan, some power. All these territories have some power, but Yah has all power. And guess what? We have access to that all power. Why? Because we are the chosen people. We are the royal priesthood. So don't allow the things that you see happening right now cause you to forfeit who you are. The scriptures confirm that we are supposed to be woke. And guess what? When you understand who you are, when you know what your identity is, when you know that you are Israelites, guess what? You are woke, but they want us to go back to sleep. They want us to stay in bed and turn and pull a blanket over our head. They want us to stay in bed and be non-productive. No, you get up out of that bed. You operate in knowing that you are the people of the book. You are the ancient Israelites. You are the holy priesthood. You get up out of your bed and start speaking life and start spreading that life around. Don't get discouraged for who reject you. Do what the Messiah told his disciples to do in Matthew chapter 10. Shake off the dust, brush the dust off your off your feet, and take your peace with you. Don't leave your peace with no one. Don't leave your shalom with no one. Don't let your wellness, don't leave it with no one. Take it with you. That's part of the problem, because so many of us have left our shalom. Some of you guys would say shalom. You left your wellness in the hands of someone else that don't care about you, that don't love you, that's constantly manipulating the situation, constantly suppressing you. This is part of the problem with our community. We have continuously given our peace to these man-made systems. And what are they doing? They are throwing it in our face. They're letting us know that they don't care about us. They only care about themselves. They don't care about what we got going on. They care about pushing their agendas. They don't care about us. And I want to reiterate this to you, family. I am not going to deny my culture, my heritage of being an Israelite. I am not denouncing it. Guess what? Even though, it can be hard, even though it can be rough, even though it can really get to a point that it can really take out your strength, just make you become weak. But I am not going to denounce my heritage. I am not going to denounce my identity. I'm going to stand 10 toes down. It just doesn't matter. Guess what? I may have to sound a little bit like the clip that I used to play. You guys know the clip that I used to play when it sounds when I play when it's that it just doesn't matter clip. I may have to sound like that. Let me go ahead and play that. I may have to just play this so you guys can let this resonate a little bit.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
That's right, family. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you have to say. Don't matter what you have to say or what you're going to say. It doesn't matter. I will not be moved. I'm taking on the declaration that the Most High had taken on. I'm taking that on the Most High when he challenged the other nations, as we pointed out in Joel chapter 3, verse 9, when he told all the nations, wake up. That's right. Wake up, be woke. Now, once you're woke, come on, meet me into the valley. Come on. I gotta handle you. I gotta check you on some things because you've been going at my chosen people. You enslaved them. You've been doing all kinds of things to suppress them. Guess what? Come on and meet me in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Remember those times back in the day, some of you guys that may have grown up in the 70s and the 80s, like I have. Remember back in the day when you would go up to that person and say, meet me in the hallway, meet me in the back of the building, meet me in the bathroom. The Most High said, meet me in the Jehoshaphat, meet me in the valley of Jehoshaphat, meet me there. Wake up, be woke, be aware. Come on, meet me in the valley. Come on, meet me in that place. And guess what? We know what the results is going to be. Come on, family. In a nutshell, family, wrapping this up. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. I'm going to get back into these teachings here, right? I got a series that I'm working on right now called Blotted Out. I'm going to try to drop the first episode either tomorrow or Monday. That's what's been really keeping me preoccupied, because I want to do a series to really show you how to articulate who we are, do it in a high level video style, documentary style, to give you some nuggets on how to express who we are, and backed up by sources, proving who we are and who we are not. But nevertheless, family, be on the lookout for it. Really appreciate you guys for jumping in this last minute unscheduled live. And I may try to get back on point with giving some of the history, since this is Black History Month. It started out as Black History Week, but we'll use this as an opportunity to give you some historical information about who we are as the people of the Most High, and proving that they know who we are. So with that being said, family, in the words of Yahweh that he gave to Moses to encourage the children of Israel, he said, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you." But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.